After we've gathered our materials, so right now I've got kind of a little baggie full of all the materials I'm going to be working with. I've got my background, which we just finished kind of trimming and cutting out. And then I have some elements that I'm going to be working with. Once again, I've got everything laid out onto my cutting mat, including my scissors and pencil and X-Acto blade, and I've got my ruler once again. And now we're going to talk about how to put together your compositions. So keep in mind for this project, we are not gluing anything down. We're going to be using our same materials and we're going to be working with different types of visual balance. So the first thing right off the bat that I have to solve a problem is you'll notice that the image that I cut out previously does not fit onto my piece of paper. So this is the requirement for the project. So one thing I thought I would do is I might take a look at what it would look like on this type of background. So right now you can see it's not quite the right size, but I'm going to kind of play around and see if I like that. One thing that I really enjoy about this combination is that this color that's occurring here is pretty close to these colors right along here, which I think looks really pretty good. The other thing is that like once you have selected maybe some backgrounds that you want to work with, another one that I think might be interesting. So I've already got this, and you can cut different sections out. So it might be, ooh, that looks pretty good. I kind of really like that. And you know, we can do the same thing over here. So you can cut windows into things and show things underneath of it. I spend a good amount of time kind of playing and figuring out what I like or what I don't like. Ooh, that's exciting. Oh, I really like that. That looks great. You know, figuring out kind of, and sometimes I hold things over to kind of figure out, well, what would that look like? What's the relationship between the different materials? Let's go ahead and pretend that this is definitely a background that we want to be using. So what I'm going to do is I do need to trim it to the size. And there's a couple different ways that you can do this. If I just flip it over, you'll notice that I can just line up my background. And if you're careful, make sure you move everything out of the way. I'm going to once again, and it's lined up, you want to line it up as perfectly as you can. You'll notice I've got a little bit of an edge right there. Once again, I'm going to anchor the ruler with my left hand. What I'm cutting through this time is quite thick wallpaper. So if you're cutting through something that's quite a bit thicker, once again, you should be scoring. And my blade is so sharp though, it went completely through, which is great. You'll notice as I was cutting, and when you are trimming or cutting or using any element of the X-Acto blade, do not be talking like I'm doing right now. So you can see it kind of jumped a little bit. I'm keeping my left hand, it's still anchored, and I'm just going to go through and I'm going to shave off that little bit that happened right there. Ideally, you would not be talking and that would not be an issue. I'm going to go down to this area right here, and we're just kind of getting a ballpark. When you're ready to do kind of your final background and you want it to be nice and perfect, you'll spend a little bit more time cleaning that up and lining it up perfectly. But for right now, we just want to kind of get in the ballpark so we can see what that background is going to look like. So once again, I'm going to anchor it with my left hand. Let's see, up. There we go. So it came all the way off. All right, so let's flip it over. And now, and you might be asking, well, like, why do we even need kind of the white? Some students, you know, it might be that you don't want to have kind of a full color background. It might be that you want to kind of play with the white of the page, and that's totally fine. But for me, what I want to do is I want to definitely kind of anchor what that's going to look like. So I've got my background, and I know that's the right size and the right proportion. I'm really enjoying this figure. So what I'm going to do, but I don't know. Sometimes you play with things, sometimes you like it. I'm going to mask that. This photograph I like so much, I'm going to fold it instead of cutting it, but you absolutely could cut it if you wanted to. Ah, there we go. So, and I like playing with kind of cropping or hiding things, showing more or less of something. And then there you go. And you'll notice I have a little bit of an element kind of hanging off the edge. That's fine for right now. So another thing that I cut up earlier was some pieces from this. So I took this and I cut some strips from it because I was really interested in kind of having some other elements. So for your project, you're going to have all this material that you're working with, and then you're going to start manipulating what those compositions look like. So essentially all I did was this. So I went through, cut off all those little strips, and now I have all these kind of bits of color to play with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about different types of visual balance in the next video. So right now this is kind of setting up the workspace. It's thinking about where to place things, and then we'll go from there.